Okay, well, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to our 10th episode of Time to Shine. My name's Adrian. I'm also known as Northern Star on Twitter, and I'm not joined alone. I have my lovely, intelligent, genius writer, friend, and co-host Mike here with me. Hey, Mike.
You continue to flatter me in more ways every time, my friend. Thank you for that introduction. Hello, everyone. It is Mike, also known as The Buried Truck, and wow, it's crazy to think that we're now in the double digits for the podcast, eh?
Isn't that wild?
That's
we
wild,
are moving right along. Chugging right on down the tracks. And this episode is very special because we have another guest star. We have the lovely Brian O'Connor with us. Hello, Brian.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Pleasure. Yeah, it's great to chat with you again, Brian. I had Brian on my other podcast a little bit, and we had a blast kind of with the rest of the Shining Time gang. So we wanted to get Brian again on here just to talk more about his character in depth and get his perspective on a few very early on episodes. We're going to stretch your brain here, Brian, and see if you remember when you shot this back in '88. So fun. Yeah. It was a while ago. Yeah, so I'm going to start us off with a few questions for Brian.
Sure.
Now, I know some of these might be a few repeats from before, but just for our audience and for folks who haven't heard, what do you remember about when you auditioned for the role of Schemer back in the day?
Okay. Well, a couple of things. This part of this is from what I heard afterwards. So when I went for the audition, I dressed up as the character, not with the curl in my hair, but I had part of the script I had to do is had some problem with my shoes. So I dyed my shoes blue to match whatever I was wearing because I kind of figured out how he might be looking. Yeah, and I did it, and apparently they wanted to hire me immediately. That Rick said, "That's the guy. Let's just hire him."
They saw your hustle.
Yeah,
it was the shoes.
Yeah, it was the shoes. Well, the funny thing, I'll get to that in a minute about the shoes. Anyway, so they said everyone said, no, you got to bring it back just in case. And they were, okay. So I come back again, do the audition, and I thought it went great. Turns out it went horribly. That they were going to not cast me, get rid of him. And unfortunately, me as an actor, I didn't know the difference. I thought they were both good, which shows you how in tune I am with my own abilities. So then they brought me back. They brought me back for the third time, and I got to improvise a little bit. And Matt, I was working with, because he had already been cast. At the end of the audition, they pointed to me and looking at Rick, that guy's Schemer. This guy's Schemer. He's Schemer. So I got the part. And those shoes I actually wore on the show. I don't remember which episode, but I wore those shoes on the show. They were blue, and that's all I can remember. They're blue.
Were they kind
tie
of blue
shoes.
Suede looking? Because there was an episode where you had there was an Elvis repairman, and you had this whole thing with your blue suede shoes, and you gave them name at the end. No, it was different.
No, they wouldn't. No, I think those are actually made to look a little more blue suede-ish. Gotcha. I don't know, but I know they used them. But the thing that just, like I said, it just kills me that I couldn't tell the difference between a really good audition and a really bad one. They both are the same to me, which is
that's fun.
a little bit scary.
It's reminding me of when Rick said that you were reading opposite Jason and Nicola's Matt and Tanya, and they weren't laughing at all, and they thought that it was a total kind of bomb, but it was because they were just trying not to laugh. They were stifling their laughter. I wonder if that was the bad addition, or if it's just a separate one that didn't go well.
No, I think that was the last one. When he remembers it. He remembers it a little bit different than me. He says that I was out of the room, but I remember them. I was in the room when they said, "This guy's Schemer." It was Jason who was saying it, and you know how
that's wicked.
Precocious is too negative a word, but he's really smart and stuff. He just kind of took charge and go, "This guy's Schemer, hire him." That's he's saying. And I was one of the few people apparently who auditioned for the part that said his name correctly, Schemer. Other people were saying Shemmer, which is weird. And it came down to between me, John Michael Higgins, who's a pretty big actor, and Jason Alexander. Wow. If Jason had gotten the part, maybe I would have been in Seinfeld.
I could see you being George Costanza.
No. I think Schemer's like a perfect combination of George and Kramer. That's what I think Schemer is.
That's a really good description. Yeah.
Yeah, the two of them had a baby, and it was made. It really is. He's physical like Kramer. He's stupid. A lot of big ideas like Kramer, but he's also remarkably self-centered like George. Yeah,
that's true. And it was funny. I was
they had a baby named Schemer.
Like the episodes we're going to review today, and I was thinking, thank God for Schemer, because if he hadn't been there, the show would have been way too saccharine, I think. And you always bring it back down to like, time is money and all these wonderful sayings and stuff. It really balanced it out. And so speaking of a bit more about Schemer, like, where did you draw inspiration from for his character? Were there some key people, or especially it's like, his slapstick kind of falling, or
whether fellow actors or real life?
Gee, that's a really good question. You think I would have been asked that before, and you'd also think I'd have an answer ready. Neither of which is the case. I don't know. Gee, I wish I had. I mean, I'm sure I was thinking of somebody when I was doing it, or inspired by somebody, but I don't really know.
That's okay. I remember you mentioned there was inspiration for the curl. That was like the guy of a baseball game or
no, that was
like dude, wasn't he?
No, Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy, that's it.
Yeah, Bobby Kennedy used to have a curl like that, and I always liked it. And they were talking about doing like a George Steinbrenner. For some reason, they had George Steinbrenner on their mind. I don't know why, but I said, "No, what about this curl? I got this idea." And my hair was a little bit long then, and that was the first season. That's my own hair, the curl.
Very impressive.
But that was like really hard to do. Oh my God. Jeez, I had a spray. I mean, the spray I had to put on my hair was like this really weird, like liquid cement almost, in order to keep the curl correct. But the last two seasons and all the specials where it was a fake hair that I kind of glued onto my head and then put my own hair into it to make it look like it was my own hair.
Yeah, I think that's probably smarter in the end. But were you like, Brian? Were you a fan of any like kind of old comedy, like Abbott Costello, any of that like kind of stuff?
Yeah,
or
I liked as a kid. I really liked Red Skelton.
I don't know that one.
That was the guy I liked. I don't. Oh, Red Skelton. He's really silly, and he used to crack. He used to crack himself up. He'd laugh. He was a really famous comedian. He had his own show.
Oh, cool.
Really silly stuff. I know I liked him as a kid. The other guys I all watched, but that didn't really inspire me. I don't think. I think Red did.
Wow, that's cool. We'll have to look him up.
Yeah.
And then as you were kind of shooting season 1, do you remember what your dynamics were like with the rest of the cast, how that developed as you went on? I know we're stretching your memory here a bit.
No. It was great. I mean, everybody was super. The kids were great. Jason's parents and Nicole's parents' mother was really nice. Dee Dee was great. It was there. Everybody was really sweet right off the bat. There was no tension. Everybody was really helpful. Dee Dee would come up to me and sometimes give me ideas. Hey, Schemer, what about trying this? In a really, but I mean, a lot of actors don't like that. I love that kind of stuff when people have ideas. So she was really great. I was too busy thinking about Schemer. I just, it was like one of those kind of things that it didn't really matter to me what else was going on in the script, because it doesn't. I don't know. Right. I didn't know it in reality. So in terms of what happened with the script, I just didn't care. All I cared about was when Schemer was on stage, because that's how Schemer thought. I mean, it's Schemer's world, and welcome to it.
That's a good point.
Anything else that was happening it didn't matter to me, because it wasn't. Schemer didn't know anything about that stuff anyway. I didn't even know who Mr. Conductor was, or the talking trains, all that stuff was like, it wasn't part of his reality. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. It's like
one of the method of you.
Yeah. But they, from the get-go, they were really great about letting me kind of schemerize the script.
That's cool.
But
did you work with writers on that, like as you went through the season, where did you get more input on the lines and stuff?
No, Rick took care of all that. Some people, I mean, like, were better. The writers were better at it. Then by the end, they got much better at it, of how to write for Schemer.
Gotcha.
But they let me improvise and, change the lines. And there was a poor script girl in the beginning. She came up to me, she goes, but I'm sorry, but you said the line the wrong way. And I say to her, like, well, it's okay. Rick said I could just say what I want to say as long as I get the point across. I don't think he once said, don't say that.
Interesting.
They
but
just
you were
let me,
improving already in the first season.
Yeah, I mean, improving is a little bit of a strong word. I just like I schemerized the script a little bit to make it sound like how Schemer would say it. I mean, I didn't improvise anything that wasn't already in the script. I just sort of changed the lines a little bit. Some of them, not all, certainly not all of them, but some of them just to make him sound a little more like Schemer, Rick was really open to that, and it was a really, everybody was great, very giving cast, and like I said, the kids were really fun, and we had a ball. I liked having fun with them. It was great. Loved it.
That's cool. And it must have been pretty wild, like the press tour and everything, especially with Ringo.
Oh yeah, gee whiz. Yeah, I was like, yeah, gee whiz. I took a train
surreal.
from Well, the funny thing, when Ringo got there, they put up this. You had to show your ID and your card, and you had to swipe this thing to be able to get inside the studio. And the thing of it is that we've been going there for weeks and weeks before he arrived, so they knew who we were, but you had to do the swiping, or you couldn't get in. So one time I forgot my card. Obviously, they know who I am. They had to go get someone to let me in because it was that tight of security.
Could have been an imposter.
Yeah, it could have been an imposter. I did a bunch of stuff with Ringo. He was really nice. I took a train with him from Chicago to New York, or maybe even LA, from LA to Chicago to New York. It was a sleepover train anyway. When we arrived in New York, I mean, there were a lot of people there waiting for him, man. It was like, wow. Everywhere he went. I may tell you this story. In Chicago, I was going into the hotel he was staying in because we had some kind of press thing upstairs. And there's a guy outside with the Beatles album, Here, Today, Tomorrow. The one that they had to change the cover because the original cover had them dressed as butchers with doll parts all bloodied up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that guy had that cover. The album, and he said to me, somehow he knew I was going in to see Ringo. But anyway, he goes, listen, my brother is dying of cancer. Can you have Ringo sign this? It would mean so much to him. And I went, well, all right, yeah, sure. So I brought it upstairs and told Ringo, and Ringo just laughed. He goes, his brother's not dying of cancer. He just wants to sing sign it so it's worth more money. And he goes, I don't mind doing it. So Ringo signed it, which is pretty cool of him,
That's nice of him to do that. But I imagine he got messed up all the time. Yeah,
he gets it all the time. But it's funny. You asked him questions about the Beatles, and he would be like, you probably know more about it than I do. That's what he'd say. You'd bring up something, and he like, I don't know, I don't remember.
Blur to him.
Yeah, probably. It happened so quick and stuff. But he was super nice. His wife. We were on a train together. A sleepover train. Him, me, the cast, and Barbara Bach and Ringo.
Yeah,
and was just hanging out, just talking and doing stuff. He was great. Really fun. And I did the Today Show with him. And Gene Shalit had this book, and he had all the stars draw their own picture in it, So he hands the book to Ringo. Ringo, will you sign? Will you do your own self-portrait? And Ringo goes, sure, does a self-portrait. Because I have all the guests, the important guests sign it. So I'm standing right next to Ringo, and then he's about to walk away when he realizes that he didn't ask me. And so he asked me, but he only asked me because he felt bad that it was like, he asked Ringo and not me. So he had to go to me. Oh, and Brian, will you also do this? Because he didn't give a crap about me. And obviously, why should he? But it was sort of him stuck in a position of feeling kind of embarrassed and awkward that he kind of sucked up to Ringo and not to me. But yeah.
Oh, man.
But Ringo was really great. Really nice guy.
He's one person that I'd like to kind of track down one of these days, but he's just so hard to get to, man.
Yeah.
He's still so busy and doing so much, but
I think
a lot of fun doing it, I think.
Oh yeah, I think so too. That's what I heard. But they wanted him for the second season, but his schedule, he just didn't want to change his schedule. And he said something to me one time, like to the effect of like, I'm the Beatles. I'm a multimillionaire. If I don't want to do something, I don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like he's got a schedule like and he wasn't being a dick about it. He was just like, I'm just, if I'll do it in the fall, but if you need me before then, well, find somebody else. That's how he lived his life.
Well, and he was touring with his band and everything, and I think that just took priority. But he was great. Like, I mean, he would have been great in season 2. I mean, we got George Carlin, who's also great fun. So can't complain there. But I wanted to ask also, just in terms of like Schemer's popularity, because I know that grew as the show went on and progressed into seasons 2 and 3. When did you become aware of the character's popularity, and when did they start considering spin-offs like the Schemer Presents and like doing the live show appearances? When did that really take off?
I can tell you the exact. I don't remember. I mean, the exact moment in time. I believe it was in Minneapolis. Seriously, it was my first personal appearance, and it was around Christmas time, and we were going to this mall after the first season had aired, and so whatever that year is, the winter of that year,
89.
Yeah. It's with me and Santa Claus, and we're outside, and they have a little train set up. We're sitting in the outdoor train part of it, and we're going to go around, and they're going to go to the back of the mall, and that's where the people are going to be waiting for me and Santa Claus. And I'm like, first off, who's going to want to see me? And I'm like the selfish bad guy. And I'm with next to the greatest guy the most giving guy in the world. Who's going to want to see Schemer? I was like, this is just going to be a disaster. So we go around the corner, and there's a couple of hundreds of people waiting for us. And we go around the corner, and I'm expecting people to. I didn't know it was going to. I thought people were going to boo the people who even knew me. More people were there to see. Way more people were there to see me than Santa Claus, and they're all screaming for me.
You heard it here first, kids. Schemer's more popular than Santa.
Yeah. That's not quite as bad as what John Lennon said, but yeah, or maybe it is. But I was totally shocked. And then so when we got there, then I went one way into the mall, and Santa went the other way, and I took way more people with me than Santa took with him. I was just like, I was shocked.
For some reason, that cracks me up, and you're just like kind of gobsmacked. You're like, okay.
I love the idea of Schemer taking Santa's place and sitting on the throne and saying, "What do you want for Christmas, kid?" Yeah, me too. That'd be nice.
Or what do you want to get for Christmas? That's the better question.
Exactly. So he went to one part of the mall, and I went to another part of the mall and did that, and was like, it was great. And then another time, well, I was doing personal appearances. I mean, I most of the time I would have a 2-hour waiting. People would wait 2 hours to see me. Wow. If you think about these are little kids waiting 2 hours, and I did one time in Chicago. The wait was 6 hours.
Oh my gosh!
People waiting. Yeah, people waiting. It was at a bookstore. I was doing autographs and stuff, and I did it. They did it for 6 hours, and some people have, obviously not everyone waited for 6 hours, but there are people waiting for 6 hours to meet
kids,
Schemer.
I mean, that's
for kids a long time. But it was always at least 2 hours. Once season 2 and 3 hit, there was always that long, and I loved doing personal appearances.
You kept doing personal appearances on through. Like even before the show ended, you were still doing a lot of them. Yeah.
But when I did them, I had this. I had a little 20-minute Schemer show I used to do, but that was later on. But in the beginning, they would have a table set up for me, to sign autographs and stuff. But I got rid of the table, and I just get on my knees because I'd be the same size as the kids, and they would wait, and then they'd come in to me, and I'd be on my knees on the floor, so I'd be the same, with no table between me and the kids, and I just hug and meet kids and tell them how great it was to meet me, and just be all that kind of stuff, and it was really fun. I got sick a lot of times from kids with colds and coming this snot-infested little coffee bugs,
germ factories,
germ factories. But I mean, the thing about doing something like autographs for kids, frankly, a lot of parents as well. Many times the kids would say to me, the real reason we're here is because my mom and my dad wanted to meet you, Schemer. I was pretty popular. That's true. Popular with the parents.
That's cool. How would the kids react typically when they met you? Like, was it tears? Was it like excitement?
Excitement. And they would, some of them would tell me what a bad person that I'm selfish. They want to tell me that. And also a lot of them want to tell me that there's puppets in the jukebox. And they want to tell me about Mr. Conductor and stuff. They want to.
What would you say? Would you be like, no way?
No, I just tell them it's haunted, But then I tell them I go check it out. Most of the time, I just, like I said, I was telling them how great it must be for them to meet me. That's the gist of it, like that. And I gave little nickels to them and stuff. But I talked.
Are there any particular meetings with kids that stand out?
Well, I did one where they had a Schemer dress-alike contest. A bunch of kids came dressed as Schemer. That was really fun.
Oh, come on.
That's hilarious.
When I was in, where was I? Some little girl and a dad, they drove 3 or 4 hours to meet me. And they were from Canada, actually. I think they came, maybe they came to Portland or something? But by the time she met me, she was basically asleep in her father's arms. And, we woke her up and stuff, and it was really great. But when I do the personal appearances and do the autographs, I spent time with each kid. I didn't just sign something to say that, thanks for coming by. The other thing I was just to tell them, I was let them think that I was able to see through the TV and that I knew that they were watching me. And I tell them that you're watching the living room, right? And they go, you're on the couch, I think, sometimes. Isn't there a window behind the couch in your place? And they're like, yeah, how did you know that? And, but I spent time with these kids. And the parents, I feel like I'm bragging here, but the parents were really thankful that I really, like I said, spent time with every kid I met, let them know that they were important to me and I'm important to them. And it was fun.
I don't see that as bragging at all, Brian. It's like you put a lot of care into that. I think that's
I love
hard.
Well, two things. Nobody waits in line to see you to tell you that you suck. You know what I mean? It's like,
I would hope not. If they did, they might have a huge revenge issue.
Right. So it's pretty fun. But the funny thing is, I've actually also done Santa Claus before. You
mean dressed as Santa Claus?
Yeah. And that is just that's another one I just love doing, because that's the other way around. Just there to tell the kid how great they are. Oh my! Thank you so much for coming. And it was just like a great. I love doing Santa Claus. Is really fun to do too. To meet the kids.
Do that sometimes or no?
No, I haven't done that. But you know what it is? Most of the places now don't do fake beard Santa Clauses. Most places have real bearded Santa Clauses. I don't know if you noticed.
You got to work on that beard.
Yeah, start growing, Brian.
Oh yeah, I did it one. I did Santa Claus a number of times, different places. It was a really fun gig. I love doing that. But and Schemer, obviously, as well. But
yeah. I have to say, Brian, like that, what you said about the parents liking it too. I feel like I think about this frequently because it still happens to this day. Like I watched Shining Time Station all the time as a kid, and I watched it so many times with my family. And I think the thing that endures the most from it is, like, I have pretty wild hair myself, so oftentimes I'll have a stray curl going. And every time my family catches it with me, like not even 2 months ago, my sister was like, "Hey, fix your hair. You got a Schemer curl going on there."
Yeah,
so, that's what do you think? Is it about the character that made it so enduring with people? Because you did those live tours long after the show ended too, right?
Yeah. Yep. Basically, Schemer's a clown, Yeah. I mean, and all the jokes on, I think there was an episode called The Jokes on Schemer. The jokes on Schemer, I mean, he's really, he's selfish and self-centered, but he's such an idiot that always backfires on him. He tries to be selfish, but it just never works. If anything, it's just like, he's a clown.
Yeah, he's not an irredeemable clown. He's got a heart in there too.
Right, he does. But his idiocy is so out front, and his scheming is so out front and obvious. I think that's where the kids could liked it, because they were smarter than Schemer. You know,
Yeah.
Well, that's it. They could tell you that he wasn't, he's breaking the rules, or Skimmer, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah,
but there's a way that he's enjoyable. Like it's enjoyable to watch him make a fool of himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And again, because it's so obvious what he's doing, it's such the idiocy is so apparent.
Well, that's what I think. I remember seeing this. I might have talked to you about it, Brian, at some point. I don't know, but there was this TV show, I think it was with Katie Couric, and she was like, that Schemer is a real dirtbag. And then there was this psychologist that's like, well, I don't know if kids can tell.
Oh, I know.
Schemer's behavior is not appropriate. And I was like, and I hate it when psychologists or other kids' mental health professionals say that, because I'm like, don't sell kids short. Kids are smart. Kids know the difference. Kids know that he's a fool. I knew as a kid. I started watching the show when I was 4 or 5. It's so obvious. So I think that doesn't make sense at all. Yeah,
I saw that the clip you're talking about. It's just like, it's so obvious what he's trying to pull, and anybody can figure it out.
Yeah.
And the idea that I'm going to be a bad influence.
And you're actually relying on kids' intelligence.
Right.
Too. Well, like that they're going to know the difference. Like, don't pretend that kids are stupid and going to be like, oh, Schemer did this, so I'm going to go do that. It's like,
yeah. It wasn't like even the Three Stooges hitting each other. The parents used to worry the kids were going to hit each other. I don't think anyone is out there emulating Schemer's behavior, No. Yeah.
I do remember one episode where Stacy did give you a little smack when you were hiding behind the railing in the arcade after you did something bad. But there was not much physical violence there.
She slapped me?
Not on the face, but on your back. Yeah, you were hiding after one time. It was an episode, one of Mike's favorites, actually, where Billy and Stacy left the station, and you auctioned off all the items in the station to try and make money for your jukebox repair. And then when they got back, they were, the kids had been like, oh, sorry, we kind of let it happen. We knew he was doing something wrong, so that's why we told you. And then they have like a little sweet moment, and then Stacy comes over. It's like, all right, Schemer. And then she asks you, like, how could you do such a thing? And you're like, well, it was easy. I just got the tables and the stuff. And she's like, oh, that was such a great response that you just go literal there. I love it. And then you mess up,
The writers got so great at the end there, especially the guys from the National Lampoon part, Ellis Wiener, Brian McConaughey, and Sean Kelly. Those are all guys that used to write for National Lampoon.
We're particular fans. We love Brian McConaughey as well. He's great.
Yeah. He's actually in they did a documentary on National Lampoon, and Brian's actually in it as one of the original writers.
Oh wow. Oh, that's cool.
Did they ever get you in the writing room with them, Brian, when it came to like coming up with Schemer's lines or anything like that?
Nope, never.
Wow.
And I think Ellis wrote Schemer Presents. The thing that they had that you probably know is that if the show was written by an American, it had to be directed by a Canadian. And if it was written by a Canadian, then it could be directed by an American.
Oh, geez.
Interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And, but those three guys were really great at writing Schemer.
Wow.
Yeah,
clearly. Did you find it hard being like in Canada when the show was shooting up here, with like being away from home or like with your wife and stuff, or was it all right? Like, did you not mind the transition to work here?
No, it was okay. No, it was good. I don't know how to answer that question.
Sorry if it's too personal, but just like whether it was like just more convenient for you to work in the States and you had to like.
I love going up there. I love going to Toronto. It just made it more, fun. When we shot the show in New York, it was great, but it was much more fun shooting it in Canada because you're away.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
that's what we like to hear.
Yeah, Toronto was great. Plus, it's just a different experience than going home afterwards, but going back home again. No, I loved being in Canada.
This is a paid promotion for filming in Canada.
Yeah, Toronto's awesome. People are really nice. Everything.
Schemer says come to Canada.
That's it, right, folks. I mean, the tax breaks were really good back in the day.
Yeah,
and I think still are to an extent.
And I don't know what it's like now, though, but the city was so clean. And the homeless people you had, maybe 3 or 4 of them out of the city of a couple million, they looked like they were on a central casting. Like you just got somebody with, rags on. It was like, because, New York at that point was like, the homeless situation was really difficult. And Toronto was like, it's like you said, like the whole time I was there, it's like 2 or 3 homeless people. I think it looked like somebody got just to make, we have homeless too here in Toronto. It was like just 2 or 3 of them. I don't know what it's like now.
I can report that it is not good now. It's
no, sorry to hear
huge homeless issue now. And so it's gotten a lot worse. Especially with inflation and everything. And
right. Yes. One of these days, people are going to have to realize that it might have something to do with the system.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one ever says that, though. It's always like, well, anyway, that's another subject. But one time I was driving in, I know it was right after Doug Flutie had led the team or some team to the Canadian Super Bowl, and it was in Toronto or something. We were driving into the city, and the cab driver was all upset. And he goes, and I'm going, what's going on? He goes, well, look at the mess these people left. I guess there was some parade or something. I'm looking out the window of the cab, drive from the airport to the, or whatever, we're driving through the city. There's a couple of pieces of paper around. And after coming from New York, I'm laughing. I'm going, you think this is a mess? Come on, man. That's how clean that city was back then. I don't know about now, but it was great.
Oh, that's wild. It's still pretty good now. Lots of green space. I mean, I like it. But it's good to hear you have good memories of it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Mike, do you have any more questions for Brian?
I think we covered the basis of the questions that I wanted to ask, actually. Yeah, that's great.
Can I tell you one quick story?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you can tell us many stories.
As many as you want, Brian. The floor is yours.
So, again, one of the first person, I did a couple, but maybe this is the fourth one or so. We did a schemer at Macy's, and I got picked up in a limousine, brought to Macy's, and I'm going, all right, well, let's give this a shot. The line was, I think I was on the second or third floor. They had to shut down the elevator or the escalator because it got so many people on it. It was so backed up, right? And I was there for a really long time. I always stayed until the last person was seen, no matter how long that was. This time, Macy's shut it off. There were still people waiting. I felt really bad. But anyway, I had a little bit of a cold. So I'm on my knees meeting all the kids, and I'm there's Robitussin. What's that stuff called? The cough medicine?
Robitussin, yeah.
Robitussin. There's a bottle of that there. So there was whoever was helping me out, because I was giving out schemer nickels and stuff. I go, I had a little bit of a cold, so I'm drinking this Robitussin stuff.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yes, but I didn't realize how high I was from it till we went to leave, and I had to stand up. It was like I was like. Whatever, I definitely got some kind of high from that doing a whole bottle of Robitussin. Now this is the funny part. So they're leading me out back to the limousine through Macy's, and people are still screaming for schemer. The people who are waiting in line. Now again, I would have stayed there the whole time, but Macy's said how to stop. So I'm like, I've got a person on each side of me bringing me through the crowd, and I'm feeling like a rock star because everyone's screaming for schemer. I got 2 bodyguards, and they throw me into the back of the limousine, and I'm completely high from the Robitussin. So it was like, I don't know, the whole thing really made me laugh because I felt like I'm a rock star, like in the back of the limousine, all high on whatever. And the fans are screaming, pounding on the limousine for me. It was pretty funny.
Oh my gosh!
Did that story make any sense?
Well, we've said on the podcast like how a lot of people. No, it made total sense. It was great, but we've been saying how like a lot of people forget how popular this show was at its height. So it's helpful to hear stories like that where you were like, you're you're almost like a rock star, and I guess kind of tripping out like a rock star too, but unintentionally.
Yeah, it was really funny, and it's schemer, and the furthest thing from the rock stars I could be. But it was like when I stood up from that. I don't know how long I did it for, 3 hours maybe. It was like, whoa, man! So I hadn't eaten anything. I just pounded down the big bottle of Robitussin or whatever. Pretty funny though. Yeah. Yes, the show was really.
Beware.
They did a that was the other thing. One time, this is in between second and third season, I think they had a big convention of sorts of the people who make the junk that is branded. So the people who are going to do Shining Time Station plates, Shining Time Station frisbees, Shining Time Station pillowcases, all that kind of stuff. But it's for everybody in the whole children's business of people who do branding and make stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can't remember the name of the convention. Anyway, Shining Time Station, they made a big poster, 3 feet by 2 feet or whatever. Big poster. There's a picture of me, and it said, "Do you know who this man is?" Well, whatever the number was, 18 million children do, or something like that, right? It was plastered all over New York City.
Yes, they had one for the jukebox band as well.
Wow. But so I'm walking around the city seeing my picture, it was up for 1 or 2 days or whatever that it was, but it was like I was pretty tripped out seeing a poster of yourself everywhere you went. They really plastered the city with it, and that was because it was a big.
That's wild.
It's a big money thing for the people who have shows on, because all these people are coming to Brit, are saying, "Hey, we want to put Shining Time Station on, whatever the product that they want to do." It's a pretty big deal.
Is it almost like a toy fair, Brian?
Yeah, maybe that's what is that what I'm talking about? A toy fair? That might be it. Yeah.
Well, I think of where they go and they pitch different ideas for.
Okay, that's what it is. The toy fair. Toys, and part of that is the brand. No, I think you're right. And part of that toy fair is the people come trying to convince the people who have shows of the different kind of branding that they can do. They were trying to keep a kind of upper class stuff with all those different things you could buy with Shining Time Station or Thomas on it. But, there were people that wanted to put that Thomas on everything, and they had to say no to a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was wild. Well, it's funny because recently I was chatting with a guy who worked on a jukebox toy that was never released, but it was like a little model of the jukebox with the figures on top, and you put a little plastic disc in and it would play a song, but it never went to production.
Oh, well,
but that would have been something that they would have brought to a toy fair to try and get them to buy it, right?
Right,
Same kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I had to do I had to meet some people, I don't know, but they had a bunch of ideas for doing Schemer too, but then the show took a left turn and blah blah blah. But yeah, they definitely did.
At least you got your little Bendham figure.
You did.
Yeah, I got my little Bendham figure. I still see that once in a while advertised on eBay or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're still out there. Those were pretty widely produced actually, and I don't know if you saw, but they did like a little mini station set that you could buy with it. That was like a little plastic case, and it had like the front desk, the mural, the arcade, and everything, and you could put the figures inside. It was pretty cute.
What are you doing, Schemer?
I am getting rid of this old arcade. It is a piece of junk.
What's wrong with it?
It's old. Kids, nobody wants to spend their money on an old machine. Around here, if you don't pull your weight, boom, into the trash you go. Coming back for later for you, pal. Hey, man,
we are going to start with episode 11, which is entitled Ring in the Old. And Mike is going to give us a summary of that.
I am indeed. So, as any good Shining Time Station episode does, this one starts off with Schemer right away. We are in the jukebox, the arcade area. Schemer is talking to Matt and Tanya about an old machine that he is going to get rid of simply because it is old. He is looking to fix it or lift the machine himself, but he is not able to, so he decides to come back for it later. While this is happening, Harry is on the phone as well. We learn that Harry has an old friend named Nat who is going to come and visit him. And through this conversation, the kids learn from Stacy that just because someone is old doesn't mean that they can't do young people things as well. While they are looking through the lost and found, they find some old clothes and old little knickknacks to play with, after which Mr. Conductor appears and tells them the story of an old engine on the island of Sodor, which is Toby the Tram Engine. After that, they continue to play with their old things, and Schemer comes back to tell them not to leave their old junk around his arcade because a sloppy place means sloppy business, which is just a great little saying. The kids once again talk to Harry about an old engine that he used to ride with Nat, after which Mr. Conductor tells them the second part of the story of Toby the Tram Engine. Following this, Nat arrives and shows the kids what he can do with a magic block of clay, and we end off the episode with Schemer learning from an arcade enthusiast that the old machine has a lot of life left in it, after which Schemer, the kids, and the man play a wonderful game, a raucous game with the arcade machine.
Very nice. Thank you for that.
Good job.
It's funny because it's not the first time that Schemer has tried to update his arcade. Yeah, I think that's a theme that kind of goes through the series. He'll sometimes try and get rid of the machines for new ones. That happens at a family special and stuff.
True.
Kind of funny. Brian, what did you like rewatching the episode? Was there anything that came to mind, like initial impressions or memories, or?
It's a little saccharine.
Yes, it's pretty heavy-handed with the morals. This one,
yeah, it was pretty heavy-handed. The morals. I'm looking at it from, well, yeah, that's what I'd say about the overall show. Schemer, he's a little tight still. It's until the second season that it gets loosened up. He's more loose than the first couple of episodes, but it's still everything's a little too tight for me. From me watching it, I can see. I know where it go. I know where the character ends up going. It feels a little tight to me. Physically, everything is just not quite not there. It takes things take a while. I'm going to go back to Seinfeld for a minute. You watch the Seinfeld episodes. I mean, it's not till season almost season 4 when Kramer finally gets in full swing. George, in the beginning, he's really the first 2 seasons of that show are almost unwatchable to me. Kramer's
they're very slow to watch. Yeah, I agree.
George is basically doing a really bad Woody Allen, and Kramer's just kind of mopey guy. I mean, it takes them it took them a lot of shows in order to find their zing, And what I'm pretty proud about our show is that I think by the second season, everybody found their zing, And considering how the greatest show on TV took, way longer than that for them to find it, like that speaks well of the actors on our show, and the writers for that matter. But yeah, so it's and also that writer they hadn't figured out quite how to write for Schemer yet, It's there, but it's not. I don't think it's there yet. It's not quite as kooky as it could bet. And that line about a sloppy business means a sloppy place means sloppy business. I think later on I might have said a sloppy place means a place is sloppy. Seems more like more of a Schemer idea,
That's true, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So Miss Jones, a sloppy place.
On the other side of it, I didn't notice that as much watching it as a kid. But now that you say it, like thinking about your slapstick physicality, especially that you adopted in season 2 and then really in season 3, it's you are more of a straight-laced schemer, even though you're still being a bit mischievous and whatnot. Yeah. But
I had somebody come up to me second season and say to me, you're doing the character a little bit different than the first season. And I said, I know. The character is growing. That's what's supposed to happen, Yeah, but anyway, this is episode 11. It's definitely better than the first 2 or 3 episodes where I feel like I'm playing an idea as opposed to the character. It's that whole thing. The more you bring yourself to the role, the better it becomes. That's just like anything. And the more I brought myself into it, the better it got. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think it also kind of coincided with the writing for Schemer as well. As I got better at it, the writing got better. We kind of went hand in hand, which I think was really great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that, Brian, because I definitely think like the essence of Schemer is still there in season 1 for sure. But once you hit season 2, it's like
definitely
unrestrained for sure.
Yes, yeah.
No holds barred Schemer.
The difference is also sort of like how it's Schemer's effect on the plot. Like many of the ones in season 2 or 3, I'm stirring the chaos.
Right.
It's what Schemer's doing is really driving the narrative here. This one, it's like I'm trying to. It's part of the storyline arc of the whole narrative of the episode, but it's not really. It's not super integral to it. It is, but it's not. It's not like it later on when it becomes Schemer's just causing all the chaos and it affects everything all around. And once I think they got more in tune with the chaos that Schemer's can cause, then it got more fun.
It's a good point. There is kind of a separateness to your plot element. I noticed watching it back. Even though the stories are the plot. The themes are interwoven, but It's
Yeah.
almost like you come on, do your schemer thing, leave.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
There's like a couple moments where you do that. So that did change. And I think probably more organic that you are more directly involved in the story. I enjoy this episode just like, kind of from a nostalgic point of view. It is, I think, a bit heavy-handed in some of the morals. Like some I agree with, like sort of you're only as old as you feel. I like that, but some of them I don't really agree with, like older but wiser. I don't think that's like always true. There's some really I don't want to say nasty, but I don't think age and intelligence and self-awareness necessarily go hand in hand. So I think that's oversimplified. And same with the whole being very anti out with the old, in with the new, because I mean, I of course love vintage stuff as much as the next person, but I think there's also like new technology can also be great. So I think it's just a bit simplistic personally.
Yeah, totally.
One thing I do like personally about the episode is like how they encourage kids to have an appreciation for older things. Like I think that's really important, given that the station itself is kind of an antique, and they're saying like, don't just throw it out here. There's a lot that can still be learned from. There's a lot we can learn from folks who have had a lifetime of knowledge. I'm like, that's those are pretty good messages, I think. Do you have any thoughts, Mike, on like just initial impressions on the episode?
I do agree. It is very saccharine in comparison to some other episodes that we'll see here. But it's an important moral, perhaps a bit of a conflicted one, because as you say, it's not always true that older equals wiser. I do like the bits with, especially at the end, with the man coming in and telling Schemer that the old machine has, that's the real beauty. He comes in just for those sorts of machines. And that's really nice. I like that with Schemer and the kids playing at the end. One thing that I don't know if I'm the only one here, but I always find Nat, the guest star, I found him really unintentionally funny. Because like it feels like he's not acting. He's just kind of being himself. And every time I see him, like whenever he turns to Matt and goes, "You want a pony?" Like it just something about that delivery I just always found really humorous, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. I like him. I always loved the whole clay thing, because that was pretty cool. I mean, although a crazy time lapse, I wondered, looking at how they filmed that, I'm like, okay, well, they got the reaction shots from the kids, but that sculpting would have taken hours.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how they sort of accomplished that, but maybe he had pre-done them, and then he started with the clay, and then they brought in the sort of half-done ones. But I like the music. I like that little segment there. I thought it was kind of fun. Did you guys notice, though, in the episode how Stacy and Harry are constantly asking the kids to run along now, which I thought was really funny. Like the kids are like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "Go away, just go have fun." Like, these two kids, like, just go make yourself busy in a train station. I don't know, something about that kind of cracked me up. They're like, "Why don't you run along now?"
Listen, you kids. I got work to do. Why don't you run along now?
Okay. See you later, Grandpa.
Bye-bye.
Harry was such a great character.
Yes,
he was.
Absolutely.
Why didn't he do the second season? Do you know?
So I think largely because of the change in filming location. That would be my guess. There's a lot of actors who were based out of New York, but I don't know definitively. I know in the Christmas special, they'd already made plans. They hadn't found a new kind of engineer yet. They just said he'd been transferred to another station on the line or whatever. But I don't know the definitive answer.
And he comes back for one episode, right?
Yeah, he comes back for one of the family specials.
Yeah. That was nice.
However many, like 6 years later. Did you like working with him?
Oh, I loved working with him. He was great. Yeah, he was really great. And obviously not nearly as grumpy as his character on screen. But he was always... I loved working with him because he was just... he's just always so really grumpy with Schemer. He just had very little patience for me, which I loved.
Oh, yeah.
He was great.
He was a good foil. He's so serious all the time, his character. He's not afraid to like call Schemer out. There's, I think in the next episode, he's like, "It's not the only stupid thing around here."
Right.
Schemer starts to say, "That's not the only," and then he agrees with him, and then it's like,
yeah, I love that. I love that moment. And he, and I think he and Dee Dee made a really good pair as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, so I also made a little note here that I enjoy Tito, like the puppet inside the jukebox, his slang. Like when the nickel comes down, he's like, "Oh, here come our marching orders," and then he says, "This is an interesting one. No hot dogging. You dig? Does anyone here know what hot dogging is? Because I had to look up the slang."
Oh, here come our marching orders. Okay, everyone get ready and no hot dogging. You dig?
Pushy, pushy, pushy.
It means no showing off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did you know, Mike? You knew that?
Oh yeah.
I knew that too, yeah.
I know that when, similar to sometimes, I think when you got the script and you schemerized it a bit, when Craig got the puppet scripts, he would change them and make them kind of all that slang, which is kind of fun to hear because I'm like, some of that slang, I'm like, I don't know what that meant as a kid, but I just thought it was kind of weird and funny. So just to move on to some of the kind of details in the episode, we get to see a little glimpse of an old stereoscope that Matt looks into in the arcade, which is kind of cool because, you know, those old form of technology that have been around for a while. I thought that was neat. You get to see this little, it's called In the Good Old Summertime, a little clip there. Kind of fun. Like Mike said, we've got the two Toby-centered Thomas stories, and I don't know about you, Mike. I think they go quite well together with this episode.
Yeah, they fit the moral very well. Obviously, you know, this is Toby's been one of my favorites since the beginning, so it's always a joy to kind of see these, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air that you don't see. You know, Thomas or any of the other engines in the first story. It's just kind of taking place in its own separate little spheres. So that's always a nice little refreshing bit too, for sure.
And you get the suspense in the middle of not knowing what's going to happen. Brian, I'm curious, like, did you ever, I mean, you must have watched the Thomas stories occasionally. Like, what was your reaction to them? You're just like, oh, that's cute, you know, whatever. Or you don't like trains.
Yeah, not my bag.
First time you see it, they're great. They're unbelievable. They're really interesting way of doing something without having any mouths move, just eyes move, and trains, and it's phenomenal. However, it didn't grab me enough to keep watching them per se, like it does some people. But I think that they were made great. The concept, how it was done, was terrific.
Like
hats
it
off.
does us.
Yeah. But hats off all the way around. I mean, they're phenomenal, you know, and obviously because other people have copied it since, you know.
Very true.
Very true. And also that Thomas just hooked some kids in, you know, they just love it. It really, I mean, what I'd really like to know is what I would have felt like as a kid watching it, and I don't know. I know I would have I think I would have liked Schemer. I'm pretty sure that would have been the person I liked the most. But I'm curious what I would have. I'm curious what I would have thought of Thomas. I don't know.
Well, it hooked both me and Mike, and I think we were both exposed to Thomas, I think, first before watching Shining Time. But when I found out there was a show that had Thomas in it, I was like, yes. But I mean, we both loved. A lot of people watched Shining Time for the Thomas segments, but we loved the station segments equally, if not more sometimes. And that's not always the case. But
right. Yeah. Whatever it is that, to hit something with children that was amazing. Thomas, you know? Yeah.
It struck a chord for I think a lot of different reasons. There's another, just because I know, Brian, you mentioned liking Harry's character. We both, as Thomas guys, but also Mike and I love trains and train history and that kind of stuff. We love the segments where Harry's character goes into talking about trains. And there's a really great one in this episode where he talks about the Rainbow Tiger and working with his friend, Nat, who's the sculptor that came in. And he just had such a great way of telling them. I always found that clip very evocative. I don't know about you, Mike.
Brian, I agree. I mean, it's just, I've said it before, but just the way that Leonard Jackson actually tells the stories about, whatever aspect of the railroad he's talking about with the kids. It's just, he's got a great natural, it feels like your grandpa's telling you a story, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. It feels, a lot of passion, I think, in that. We've also got picture machine segment, Old But Wise. So we got the lovely Kevin Roth lending his, dulcet tones for another song, which I enjoyed as a kid. I enjoyed that little music video. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I'm just waiting for Schemer to come back.
You ready for more Schemer? Hear that? More
Schemer. Yeah. Okay. So when's Schemer coming back?
Love it.
Well, the thing. The thing of it is that what's pretty amazing about this show, there's so many different elements to it that Rick did a good job in terms of making them all address the moral issue of the show, of the particular episode. But there's a lot of different types of looks to the show. And the show became successful because it's been very easy to someone to go like, I like the trains, but I hate the rest of that crap, and I can't watch the show. Or I like the people part, but I can't stand the rest of it. But somehow or another, people would watch the whole show, even though each piece was very disparate. Is that the right word? To each other. It was pretty remarkable, really.
Yeah.
I think.
It's a good point. You had the Thomas stories, you had the station live action segments, you had the jukebox band and their songs, you had the picture machine songs, you had like Mr. Conductor's random little... so it was a lot. And it's funny because Rick has always said, the actual footage that we shot in the station was not much when you factor in like a 22-minute episode, minus the Thomas stories, minus all those songs and stuff. So it was, it's interesting because I think in some ways there was something for everyone. That might have been why it pulled a lot of people in. Because like you said, Brian, if you didn't like one thing, probably in 5 minutes, you'd see something where you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, yeah, I'll stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you say, Brian. I mean, it's really it's a testament to Rick that you can make these elements of you've got people who are doing live action stuff in a station, then you've got puppets in a jukebox, then you've got footage of a train show from the UK in the 80s, and then all these public domain cartoons and stuff that we have going on in the picture machine. Like to make all that work on paper, it sounds like a nightmare, but they made it all come together.
Yep.
It was very well packaged, and if Britt did I think a fantastic job with the Thomas stories, and those really woven quite well, and they especially as like the new ones came along. What did you guys think of the jukebox band song? We got "Train Is a Comin'" sung by Venice Thomas, kind of a slow jam. I kind of dig it. It fits the vibe. It fits the vibe of the episode for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It fits the vibe of the episode, definitely.
Yeah.
A story about old but wise things is not where you want to have a rock and roll number going on. So
let's jam out, guys.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that in the entire episode, the schedule board at the front desk is just mysteriously not there?
Really?
Oh, wow. Well,
I have never noticed that before.
For no reason. I just looked and I was like, oh, that's weird. Maybe Schemer like broke it on one of his wild adventures. Take it to the prop department and fix it.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
No blame there, Brian, at all. Yeah, random. And then one thing we kind of do too when we're talking about an episode is we talk about like kids' activities, because usually they'd have that as part of the episode for like so the kids could have something to do at home, or you see the episode and be like, oh, cool. So they had dress up, which is neat, like the kids trying on dress up clothes, and that's something a lot of kids get into. I had a tickle trunk, like Mr. Dress Up-esque kind of thing as a kid. And then clay sculpting, which is great because most kids have Play-Doh, so I think it's just like a cool way to encourage them. I don't know. So they haven't already take it up.
Well, did every show have that element? I mean, something the kids could do at home?
They made a special effort, I think, in the first season, and actually in the outlines I have some of the before they actually wrote the actual scripts that handed to the writers, they had the Thomas stories, the morals, and then the activities. So yeah, it's something they would brainstorm. I guess it was just a way to engage kids. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
You weren't aware of that, Brian?
No.
Like you think about other episodes, there's one where like Matt and Tanya make those all. Oh no, what is it? Oh yeah, they make stilts out of cans with holes punctured in them, and then string wrapped around their shoes so they can like walk higher. So things like that. A lot of the like little DIY things that most kids can do at home with stuff they had around the house. It's kind of fun. Any other thoughts on this episode before we move into ratings, guys?
Well, I think we all agree we like the episode, but it's a tad syrupy. But it
yes,
overall, but the elements fit well together. It makes for an enjoyable show. Just a tad syrupy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that Dee Dee's delivery is always genuine, but yeah, I think they could have maybe just hammered home like 1 or maybe 2 morals as opposed to like 3, 4, because they did fit a lot in. Brian? What would you give this out of 10? That's what usually our rating system. Just thinking.
Oh boy,
what do you think?
6.
Okay. All right, for the aforementioned reasons. Cool. Mike?
Well, I have to say, one little final thought I have is that I really like at the beginning when Stacy's talking to Matt and Tanya, and Tanya says that she thinks 12 is old, and then goes on to say that she thinks Stacy is 60 or 70. I really like that they kind of nailed the way that kids think about age, and it's just funny because like I catch myself thinking like that now, and I'm 31 right now, and I'll drive by a high school and find myself thinking these damn kids, and it's like, oh no, here we go.
Well, for me, it's a little bit the other way around. I'm hanging out with this guy. He just turned 50, and I'm thinking he's my age.
That's hilarious.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah,
he's not my age. I'm 20 years older than him, but I'm thinking like, yeah, John's my age. I'm like, no, he's not. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, actually, in that same token, yeah, I definitely have moments sometimes where, for every "you damn kids" thought, there's also, oh, I'm still 16. Like it's no big deal. Yeah. No, that's not the case anymore. So, in terms of ratings for this one, I'm going to put this one on the lower side as well. I'd give it I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. I agree that it's a pleasant enough episode, but it's a bit heavy-handed with the morals, and you've got some of the great Thomas stories in this one. The schemer bits are fantastic, and I love Harry telling the story about the rainbow tiger and all that stuff. But yeah, overall, it's a bit too sugary for me, and I prefer something maybe a little bit more humorous.
Fair. I like what you said to Mike about the writers capturing how kids think. That's something we've talked about, Brian, a fair bit on here, is how I think even from the first season, they were really good at understanding things from a kid's point of view. And I think that writing is like a good example of that. I would give this one a 7 out of 10. It's not my favorite. I still enjoy it. I'd say there's elements that I like. The morals, oddly, didn't bother me much as a kid. I think watching it now, I'm like, okay, we got the point. But I enjoy Nathaniel Kaz as a guest. I think he's really interesting. He actually was a really well-known New York sculptor. He's sadly passed away, but he was very well-known. And so I think he was an interesting guest star to get. And I agree with you, Mike, that he was a natural kind of with the kids and stuff. Because some guest stars, as we'll talk about in the next episode, can be a little bit more awkward, I think. But I thought he did a great job, and I like Harry's sort of story. And I think I like the ending. Thinking about it now, I like the ending of the episode the best, because I enjoy when everyone's playing loudly and Stacy's sort of just trying to talk on the phone, and she's saying, this station may be old, but it's got a lot of life left in it. I actually find that kind of sweet. So I'll give it a solid 7.
Hi, I'm Mike O'Donnell, one of the composers of the original Thomas the Tank Engine theme, and I'm here to tell you that I have released a selection of re-recorded themes and songs from the classic shows in a series of albums called the Engine Themes. These albums include a variety of classic themes and songs from the original TV series, as well as a few new compositions. You can purchase these albums on CD or digital download, as well as posters and pin badges. Have a look online at modmusic.co.uk. And for a special offer for Right On Track listeners, you can use the special code ROT20 for a 20% discount on all digital downloads. Be sure to enter the code when making your purchase. Thank you for your support and happy listening. Take care and stay safe.
We are on to episode 12, Impractical Jokes. Hardy, har, har, har. So I'm going to give a little breakdown of the plot here for those who haven't seen it. But again, if you haven't, please go and have a quick watch and come on back.
There! That ought to do it! Come on, baby! Work! Maybe we should just use smoke signals. And Stacy? Oh, Matt! Oh, you scared me. Hey, listen, Tanya isn't here. I haven't seen her today. Come on, work! I have. Oh, really? Well, that's nice. Where? Right here. Hi, Stacy. Oh, hi, kids. I guess you're wondering what I'm doing. So I'm trying to fix this old telegraph. It doesn't work. Well, let's just say it sort of works. Sometimes. No, not really, because it doesn't send and it doesn't receive. And for a telegraph, what else is there? Noises. It makes plenty of noises.
So the episode starts with Stacy trying to fix an old telegraph, and she's just kind of inadvertently ignoring the kids as they're talking to her. But that is nothing that a Thomas story won't fix. So Mr. C comes along and shares that with Matt and Tanya. The kids proceed to learn a bit about Morse code, and then Schemer comes in. He makes a complete fool of himself as a practical jokester, although makes more of a fool of himself as the episode moves forward. We learn that he's trying to get laughs at the expense of others. And then another kind of moral that's woven in, the kids learn about friends accepting faults in others. No one's perfect. And then they all kind of finish with some railroad songs, learning to play the spoons, which is kind of fun. And Schemer gives up the practical joke business when he learns that it's no fun to be the object of a joke, and he instead decides to market musical soup, a soup that sings to you while you eat it, which I think would be simply terrifying. No, don't eat me, don't. I don't know. I enjoy this episode. I think like Schemer's really over the top here. And Brian, I don't know, were you basing this performance off of anyone with like the silly kind of British accent and kind of hamming it up a bit?
Don't recall.
No, but probably someone, right?
Maybe. I know other times I've you know the episode where I'm the person who can read the future?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's Dr. Smith from Lost in Space.
Yeah.
That's you were the great El Schemo.
El Schemo. I'm basically doing Dr. Smith from Lost in Space. Okay, so what happened in the show that never happened in any other show? And I'm going to be disappointed if you don't know it. And it obviously
this episode?
And it has to do with Schemer. And I was shocked when I saw it. I was like, what? I think I know. I think I might know. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Is it the fact that he doesn't have his curl? Correct. I could not believe he had his curl for everything. Always. But if I wore a hat, I always had a curl sticking out of it. The curl was always there, no matter what. I just can't believe I didn't do that with this one. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's ultimately on me. I mean, if I wanted to put the curl in there, they would have let me do it. But I don't know.
Why do you think? Why do you think? We have our guesses as to why there was no curl this episode.
I was too shocked when I saw it to think about why that happened. I just was like, what?
It's like leaving the house with no clothes on.
Yes. I mean, it's more important than pants, really. So I don't know.
It's funny because there's a Wikipedia online where they just have, various bits and pieces, facts about the episodes, and somebody kind of surmised that it was because of you trying to have kind of an upper class appearance as the jokester, with this facade, this English accent and that kind of thing, that maybe it was part of your sort of trying to fool people, that because I think at one point you say like you pretend that you don't know who Schemer is, but you say, "Oh, I've heard he's a marvelous fellow," or something. But
Right.
so maybe for that reason,
Could be, I guess.
because the makeup people must have made a conscious choice, right?
Well, on something like that, I think it's probably more up to me.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
I guess because I was in
But
disguise.
yourself to blame, Brian.
Well, yes. No, if I wanted to put I'm positive if I wanted to put the curl in there, I could have got that. I'm sure. I can't imagine saying no to that. And with the
Bad hair day.
I don't know. Maybe I just wanted to be. I don't know. I'm too flabbergasted by it. I guess I wanted to be in disguise of sorts. But I've done disguises before, and I still had the curl, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I think so. There was an episode in season 2 that's really great where you do a couple disguises. One, you disguise yourself as a tourist, and the other, you disguise yourself as like a railway engineer. They're both horrible disguises, but I think you still have your curl.
Yeah,
I think
that's funny too, because
which makes it even funnier, right?
The tourist one, you're wearing a giant sombrero, and you can still see the curl is present there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they stuck to the
yeah.
Which just makes it even funnier because he thinks people won't recognize him, and that makes it even more
exactly that right. That's the joke, right? And apparently, I didn't think of it. Maybe I hadn't thought of it at that point. I mean, obviously, I don't. For some reason, it hadn't occurred to me yet that no, where Schemer goes, the curl goes. I was like really.
I never noticed that as a kid. We're looking with more of a fine-tooth comb now, but
very true.
I was going to say another Schemer moment that kind of struck me is when the kids are finally able to fix the telegraph at the end or help identify the problem, and then everyone cheers, and then Schemer comes in and takes credit for the applause. I love that.
Yeah, I did.
Like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I know I'm amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's not necessary. Thank you very much. I know that you love me. Thank you. Hey, I'm really touched.
One of the things that, because I'm looking at this like from a, not really a show position, but more of an acting position, And usually when I'm looking at stuff, things that stick out for me are things that I don't like, you know what I mean? Or what I did, or what I would do differently. I mean, the water from the rose in my face, that's coming, right? I mean, it's so obvious that that's what's going to happen. Yeah. I just wish I found a different reaction to it than what I did. I wish when I thought about it today, yesterday, the other day when I watched it, that it was like, I wish that water had hit me harder. So it was like, it wasn't just like, like it knocked my head back or something. Something of there was no surprise there. And I kind of wish that looking at that going, I missed a moment that it could have been better than what I did. Obviously I did what everybody does. I got water in my face. But if I had come up with something a little more original, it might have been funnier, I think.
I liked your reaction, Brian, but come to think of it, when I saw it, I was like, there should be more water. They should have had somebody off camera with a freaking super soaker. Just ready to blast you in the face, right?
Right,
Safely,
exactly.
of course.
Right. So, something bigger than. So I'm saying my reaction should have been bigger, like my head blown up, or the other way, be let the water come out of that thing like a cannon. Would have been good. But only because we know the joke that's coming. And it would have been fun to kind of play with that expectation a little bit.
I like that. It's always interesting. Do you find yourself more when you're watching yourself? Like, do you find yourself critiquing choices that you made acting wise, or is it that and also just enjoying the performance? Like, how do you feel watching yourself? Like,
I'm usually
surreal?
Looking at things that I guess that actors were the choices that they made, because it is all choices. Even when you're just flowing with it, even when it's not conscious, it's still a choice. So what sometimes I am not a harsh critic by any means.
Right.
I'm not a harsh self-critic, but I definitely see things like I could have done differently.
Just on that same theme, like about you, how you feel about your own acting. I know Nicole had said in another interview that she doesn't typically like rewatch stuff that she's done after she did it. So she didn't really watch Shining Time after she did it. If it like came on at a friend's place, she might like catch a bit of it. But she was always focused on the next project, that she never really stopped and watched it. So when she watched it with us, it was kind of interesting to hear her reflect. Did you used to watch your episodes as they came out, or no?
Definitely.
You did? Okay, now why?
To see what's working and what's not working. So I can. I mean, I don't understand people not watching their work. I want to see what's working. Because sometimes I'm thinking something's working and I'm going, it's not working, or I'm thinking I'm doing something that's really big and it's not that big, or that fall could have been much harder. I'm my reaction, or I'm rushing things. I got to stop and and I'll watch something and go, oh, that was a good moment there. I took my time responding to Stacy instead of jumping right on her. So it's about timing sometimes, about listening, and about just if something's working funny-wise, bigger, smaller, faster, slower, whatever, that kind of stuff. And
that's cool. So it's almost evaluative, like a self-reflective process.
Yeah, I find it really helpful. For when things work or when don't work, because and again, I'm not a harsh critic, but I'm a critic enough where I can see where something's not working, and I can see where it is working. But I would say most of probably what I got out of it was when it's not working, and when it could have been done. I mean, even now I look at stuff and I'm going like I told you with that rose. I wish something had been different.
Was that sort of self-reflection something that led to the change in schemer that we kind of see in the second season, Brian? Is that watching the first season, did you kind of go, oh, I got to do more of this,
Yeah, well, I looked at it and I found myself, like I said, playing an idea as opposed to letting the character fly and flow. Right. Once I kind of embraced that a little bit more, I think it got better. But again, it's a really funny thing. The writers seem to be doing the same time as me. It was kind of hand in hand. It's like odd kind of symposia, whatever the word is. But so why do I fall in this episode?
Oh, it's so hard to remember. You fall in a
so.
lot of them.
Are you gonna have me back again in season 2 or 3?
We'd love to.
Oh, we'd love to have you back if you're down.
Well, I'll yes, definitely. I'll save my big long talk about Schemer falling down to that for later.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can have you on as like a season tradition. Do you have any kind of initial thoughts on the episode, Mike?
I do like this one more than the last, for sure. There's definitely a lot more humor going on. I really like, and I'm curious, Brian, if you remember this, the mention that Schemer makes of, Fred Astaire and Dwight D. Rockefeller. Like, was that in the script, or was that an ad lib that you threw in there?
I'm assuming that was probably in the script.
Yeah, because I thought, that seems like something that two people that Schemer might not be actually paying much attention to.
And he said their names right. I was expecting him to get it wrong or something.
It's like I don't know, just gave me a chance to do that stupid little kick dance I do, so that's why it was okay with the Fred Astaire.
It was beautiful. Graceful.
Was the second one Dwight D. Eisenhower?
I thought he said, okay, maybe that's a Schemerism then, because I think he says Dwight D. Rockefeller.
Okay, that's the joke. That's the joke. That was the mess up. It's not. It's Dwight D. Eisenhower, not Dwight D. Rockefeller. Right. I think.
I think so. It sounded weird to me too. Good. I was like, oh, I don't know if that's.
It's hard. I mean, we're being not American, we're not always an expert, but
I'm pretty sure it's a subtle Schemer thing.
Did they say yuck to Dwight D. Rockefeller? You know what the problem is with you people? You don't know what funny is. And that's funny. That's funny.
That's kind of, again, we see it a lot in some of the later seasons too, but throwing in sort of names like that for, obviously for the parents watching as well. The kids aren't going to know who those people are, but it'll get a laugh out of the parents for sure. So I appreciate them throwing that in there. The rest of the episode, I enjoy the Thomas stories, and I enjoy, obviously Harry talking about railroad things. It's a little slower for me. It kind of feels a bit drawn out in places, but also I think I don't know if they ever firmly established, what year this season of Shining Time takes place in, whether it actually is happening in '89 as well. But I find it really funny that they're still using telegraphs and Morse code. That definitely dates it a little bit, I think, in terms of when is this actually happening?
Well, it's supposed to be evergreen, so there is no year.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Evergreen? I've never heard that term.
Yeah, it means that was a concerted effort on their part to make it like it so it can be shown now and it won't seem dated. But it's impossible to do something evergreen.
True.
You know, it's like it's but they tried to make it not so 1989 or 1989.
Interesting.
But
because even Stacey says about the Telegraph, she says, you know, there's not many of these left on the railroads, but she'll be glad when they replace all of them. So I was like, is Shiny Time Station just like have a lower budget, and the Indian Valley Railroad is like won't give them proper technology, so they're like, here, make use of this crappy old telegraph? Or is it just, you know, I'm probably thinking about it too literally,
right.
but you know,
I must say the practical jokes sometimes can be very silly, and other times they happen in the most unusual way. Why, I have a friend. Well, let me show you. Let's go down the anything tunnel.
So I was going to ask you guys what you think of that like bizarre anything tunnel segment of the like museum with that guy who kisses the painting, and then all the other paintings that he doesn't kiss like stick out their tongues at him.
What are your thoughts on it?
I just think it's bizarre. And I was like, is it because he only kissed the pretty girl at the beginning, and then because he didn't like kiss the larger woman in the painting that he went by, and then they were mad, and then there's like this painting full of men and they all stick their tongue out at him. I just think it's so weird. I'm probably overthinking it, but it was one of those things that I'm like, wow, there's some random stuff that they chose to put in these.
Occasionally it does feel
I don't know who was like,
occasionally it does feel like. Yeah.
It's a little weird. Oh man. And then and the performer that you were talking about, Mike, Tom Callanan, he's the guy who sings the Working on the Railway song in the episode, which I think is kind of fun. You know, he gets the kids involved, but I find him a little awkward as a guest star. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that, you know, maybe acting isn't what he's comfortable with. Maybe it's more the musical performance that he takes to. But yeah, it does seem a little bit rough around the edges in terms of the actual dialogue and the interactions with the other actors there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not quite as relaxed maybe as Nat in the previous episode. Mm-hmm. Yes, and then what else? Oh, and then we get the jukebox song, Philomene Aurier, and you get to see puppets' heads do a full 360 degrees, which is slightly disturbing as well. Just to like a little bit of Exorcist to scare children. Yeah.
In 1841, I put my corduroy breeches on. I put my corduroy breeches on to work upon the railway. Philomene Aurier, Philomene Aurier, Philomene Aurier, to work upon the railway.
What do you think of the puppets, Brian? Like, looking back at them, are you like, oh, they're kind of sweet and endearing, or like odd? I mean, I assume you didn't really watch the filming of that and stuff, and you were just kind of focused on the schemer stuff. But watching them now, like, what do you make of them?
They're cool, but they're very cool. But there's something weird about them, which I think part of what makes them cool. I don't know, it's just they're pretty tripped out. I don't know that, and you know, I'm always reminded of the puppets from that the guy who lived. Remember the puppet, the guy that lived under the ocean. These kind of puppets, and also there was a TV show with same kind of things with a guy from outer space. You know what I'm talking about?
You know, I'm having a vague recollection. I think my friend showed me that show, but I can't remember what it was. It was an older show.
Yeah, well, there's something about puppets that's always like so like, you know, weird, but in a good way. But they're done really well in terms of how they do it, and the singing's always great, and the characters are really funny. There's just puppets. You know, like some people get freaked out by clowns. I get freaked out by puppets or marionettes, I should say. There's something disturbing, and I'm always like, you know. a few steps away from being chased by one down some darkened hallway. But
that would be a good episode, actually.
Yeah.
Schemer's fear of puppets.
Yeah. And like I said,
it's like haunted by them.
Previously, how many kids have come up to me to tell me that there's puppets inside the jukebox when I meet them?
It's really sweet.
Yeah. They're trying to be helpful to me because I'm, what an idiot I am. But they're trying to like straighten out my reality that there's puppets in the jukebox.
Oh man, I love it.
One of the things they're also used to say, well, how do they eat if they're in there? Where do they go? What grocery store do they go to if there's puppets in there? How is this even possible?
I love when kids go so logical. I mean, we know that they have like a dressing room and stuff, but you're right. You never see them eating. Terrifying. They don't have it in their budget. They just have to play music all day long.
Yeah.
And starve.
I love my favorite age with little kids is when they're they don't believe in Santa, but they have to only because they're doing it logically. Not that there's no such thing as Santa Claus. They're like, well, how can it be Santa Claus? I mean, think about it. How can he go all the way around the world, in one night? And they're like this, but there's still a part of them that is a hard time giving up Santa Claus because the only way they can get away from it is through logic. But it's such an illogical idea that you don't really need logic to prove that there's no such thing as Santa Claus. Do you know what I mean? That age when they're trying to convince you that there's no such thing as Santa Claus. I just love that age.
Would that be like 9, 10 maybe? Or
no. It's around 6, 7.
Oh, 6. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm using a personal example. I believed in Santa very, very late in life. So.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah, I remember my daughter's friends like going on and on about it. Yeah, just being really adamant about how there can't be such a thing as Santa Claus because how could somebody do it in one night? And then you take the other, I don't know. It always cracks me up.
Yeah, that's especially when you get into like school age kids and they're they want to be cool in front of their friends. They're like, I don't believe in Santa because of this.
Right. Anyway, I believe in puppets, but they scare me.
Yes. Well, it's funny because as a kid, I always just assumed I never looked at them as puppets. I'm like, oh, they're just cool. They just live inside the jukebox.
Oh, is that right? You didn't realize?
It's weird how as a
wow.
Well, I didn't. It didn't. No, I didn't make sense of it that way. I just was like, oh, there they are doing their thing. It's sort of like how the Thomas story is. I thought it was real. I thought it was a real railway somewhere for a long time until I got older. I was like, oh, they're sets somewhere. And then the puppets, I guess at some point I realized they were marionettes and obviously saw their strings and stuff. But you just suspend disbelief as a kid. It's funny.
Wow. Sure. So the thing is, they're not really puppets, though, right? Or are marionettes puppets?
Sorry, there are a combination of the two. So
right.
Tito is a hand puppet because he has his little stool. Right. And then Grace is a marionette. Dee Dee is sometimes a hand puppet and sometimes a marionette. They had both. And then the boy brothers, like the cowboys, they are, I think, a combination, but they're also they're hand puppets.
Are they hand?
Because I thought they were
strings. Oh yeah.
They had both. They had when they were on their little seat and playing their guitar, they were hand puppets. But when they were playing guitar and stuff, they had a separate one that was a marionette. So they made often doubles so they could make them do jump around and play the electric guitar and stuff.
Right.
It's kind of cool. I mean, Craig can say more about that, but yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing, but at the same time, they freak me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. That would be entertaining, especially because you think it's haunted, and it's like it is haunted. They are.
I just realized that right now. Right? I think it's interesting. Yeah, I think the thing. Yeah. Wow, I hadn't thought of that before. Yeah.
I mean, it's haunted in a way. I'd probably be just as terrified to see that they were puppets.
Yeah.
I always loved that. I always loved that kind of theme for Schemer, the haunting thing, because it stayed through so many seasons, and it was very entertaining. Because he did it so well, and I actually think that's where I think Schemer hit his stride for me. It was kind of at the end of the first season. There's that episode where you guys they stay in the station overnight and you try and scare the kids. Do you remember that?
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, that was first season. Oh, that was a good one. Yeah.
It was first season, and it was near the end, and you're like, I'm going to be the man with his head on backwards, and you get this idea.
Oh yeah,
you end up totally scaring yourself. But that's where I really love that because you kind of fed into that whole myth. And you have a really bad fall in that episode too, really bad,
Yeah,
where you hit the
that's where it
Right.
starts.
Yeah. Like it looks like you really got.
Who wrote that episode? Brian McConaughey.
Oh, Brian
yeah.
McConaughey.
It just-
Yes.
Yeah, that's who wrote that.
Yeah,
one.
yeah. It was just so silly and stupid and just ridiculous, but Schemer still buys into it. You know, it's just a really funny idea. You know, and and I love that Schemer gets so entertained by it at first. You know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He's always so
Yeah,
enamored with his own ideas.
Well, it's funny because he starts saying like, "I'd be terrified to spend the night in the station without my blankie, without my
Right.
mommy," and then you say like, "Kids, you know, they're just something. They need something to be afraid of," and then you have this idea. But it's so funny that you start out as being terrified of the idea, and then you you go forward with it. And then it was great. It was brilliant. I think that's when I think Schemer really came to life.
Was that the last episode of the first season?
No, but it was close to it.
I think it was the second
No,
last
yeah.
one. Yeah.
My guess is that probably the last one probably was a
And you
little
have
bit
all your
syrupy.
clothes on backwards.
Oh right, it was really fun.
No, the last one was intense because they were like gonna close the station.
Oh,
so it was sort of it was a bit of a threat. So it was relatively serious. Yeah, it does have a bit of a sweet ending, but
in the first season, are there any guest stars like not guest stars? You know, like Mitch Smoot and all those people. Are any of those in the first season?
yeah. So we get Midge near the end of the first season,
Okay,
Midge and Mayor Flopdinger as well.
and
Right,
Mayor
which
Flopdinger,
what-
yeah.
once they started having reoccurring characters, that also really helped the show a lot. It made the show a lot thicker and yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I think so too. Yeah.
Reoccurring characters are really important. Otherwise, it's just too in on itself. This little world, you know. You want the outside world, outside of Shining Time Station, to come into it, and you want to have some of those people be the same people over and over again, which is one of the fun things about having reoccurring characters. And all those reoccurring characters are just the actors are just all so great. All of them, great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's no.
They
doubt
broadened
about that.
the universe.
Yeah, and they're just really well done.
Yeah. They were quirky. They were quirky. That's what I liked about them, especially as they went on in season 2 and they developed their characters more. Midge Smoot and the Friends of the Flowering Cactus Ladies Auxiliary.
Great.
That whole thing. She had that whole group, and then you one episode you're like, my mommy's in that group, and you're like, you run after her, and yeah, it was very clever.
Yep.
Not that I knew what any of that meant as a kid, but yeah. So I think we're pretty much close to the end of this episode. Really,
Yeah.
We have there's a few kids activities. I mean, learning Morse code, I guess, if they wanted, but that would be pretty random. Playing the spoons is kind of fun. That comes in at the end. Everyone's jigging and whatever. And I remember, I don't know about you guys, or like, I guess Mike, but after that episode, I think I did try and get some spoons and try that.
I don't
Tapping
remember
against
it.
my knee.
I don't remember it from this episode, but I do remember as a kid, like, we would go to cottages and, you'd all be sitting around the fire. Someone would get out a guitar and then, all these other random little instruments would show up. And I do remember seeing people, using spoons to act as the percussion and thinking like, oh, that's so cool. I'd love to learn how to do that.
Yeah. It's pretty fun. You got to get the finger technique right. But.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. So you both saw these shows as kids?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
I saw season 2 first when I was about 4 years old. So I was a real youngin', and then I think I saw season 1 after that. So I was still probably around like 6 or so, 7. So yeah, I would oftentimes pick up things. The same thing like watching Mr. Rogers or Mr. Dressup. If they did cool things, I'd try and do it at home.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So it is really growing up with it, And I have to say it was pretty fun to grow up with, as far as shows go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because Mike didn't watch season 1 as a kid. He came to it a bit later in life, and rewatched it and was like, "Oh, it's kind of interesting to see."
Yeah, I was
different.
born in 1992, so I kind of missed that first season, and I remember kind of coming to when the second season and the third season especially were coming out, and so going back to these original original episodes from season 1 was kind of a treat. It was like Lost in a way to me because I hadn't ever seen it, but yeah, it's neat to discover stuff.
Did they seem a lot different to you?
Big time, yeah. The vibe is very different, not in a bad way, but it's definitely, as you say, that's the notable thing is going back and watching, especially the portrayal of Schemer. That is a huge thing because I just remember him being so over the top and so much more bombastic in the later seasons that he's definitely more subdued in this one. But that's just a matter of, as you say, it took Seinfeld 4 seasons to get on their feet, so it was just a matter of finding the footing.
Yeah. And how much, like I was saying before, how much Schemer stirs the narrative of the episode.
Yeah, that's a huge thing because, like, again, when we think about this season, it's really only towards the end that that Schemer starts to take a more active role in stirring that pot. So yeah it's interesting to see.
I was saying before how it's kind of interesting how my Schemer became fuller, and the writing also became fuller at the same time. I'm not sure which came first or who was leading who, but also I think some of that also had to do with Rick, because Rick was a big Schemer proponent, fan, and I think that some of that had to do with Rick having more power as a writer. And with the writers and over Britt too. I think that Schemer coming into his own was also reflective of Rick coming into his own as well.
That makes sense. Some of the stories got pretty crazy, I will say. Season 3, there's somewhere I'm like, whoa, like it went pretty out there. But so I think there's room for both. Like personally, as a viewer, as a kid, I enjoyed the sort of insular, lulling, smaller world of season 1, and I could still also enjoy the more kind of as the world is expanding in season 2 and then getting more outrageous in season 3. It's just different but still enjoyable, I think.
Right. And also not all the episodes in 2 or 3 were all stirred by Schemer. Some episodes definitely were, and other ones they weren't. So it was like it wasn't. It just depended. And some of it depended on the writer, and some of it also depended on they decided to make some shows not as chaotic, a little more the ones that are really chaotic. The moral lesson at the end of it is always of no consequence at all, really, But some of the other ones. The ones with Schemer, they're just shoehorn. Basically, don't be a jerk, Schemer. It's basically the moral lesson. But some of the other ones were a little more dignified.
And it is a real testament to say that all those Schemer-centric episodes really do boil down to don't be a jerk. But even in recycling that moral, it never felt stale. Like it was always presented in such a way that was entertaining and very comedic. Yes. And it never felt like, oh, we're doing this again.
Yeah. It was always, and it was always like with Schemer. It was like Schemer needs to learn something. He needs to stop being such a selfish child, as opposed to the bigger the bigger moral things about in with the old, out with the new, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's more like it's the moral lesson is through the eyes of Schemer and not being so selfish or such a child or trusting people. It was almost like the moral lesson is presented through Schemer supposedly learning something, as opposed to just a broader stroke of it all, like some of the episodes in season 1.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think sometimes there are glimmers of intelligence through Schemer's madness, because I was thinking about the morals to this episode. You've got it's okay for friends to disagree. There's 2 sides to every joke, that kind of stuff. But at one point, they're saying to Schemer, Stacey's saying, these jokes can be very mean. And Schemer's like, of course they're mean. Life is mean. And I was like, that's a great message. Life is mean. That's it's... I think it's true in a way. So it's like, there can be a point to it.
Oh, totally. But the same token, when I said that, when I watched it again, I was like, would Schemer really say that? I don't know. It's just like, it's like, would Schemer really say that? But life is mean without having it been schemerized into some pretzel logic of something, where he'll say that life is mean and then give some example of it that it is the wrong example or something like that. That just kind of sat out there. Yeah. It was like, that's okay. Yeah. That seems a little.
Yeah, they hadn't I don't think they'd fully embraced Schemer's idiocy.
Right.
In season 1, he was a bit more of he had a bit more sleazy car salesman vibe to me sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
In that he could be mischievous, but he was also sometimes smart in that. But then I think they made him more of a buffoon.
Right.
In seasons 2 and 3, would you say, Brian?
Or totally.
More,
yeah, 100%.
Not as intelligent.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. I've got a theory here.
Yeah.
So what if Schemer actually grew in reverse? He started out kind of relatively intelligent, and then he just got stupider and stupider as he got older.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be what's going on. I mean, clearly, by the time we get to Schemer Presents, he doesn't even know how to put on a pair of shoes, or he doesn't even know what a telephone is. He's
totally regressed.
Exactly. It's going backwards. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, I love that. Mm-hmm. What would you guys give this episode in terms of ratings?
Brian, take us away.
6.5.
Why?
Well, it's better than the last one, but it's still season 1. I'm a harsh critic of season 1.
Yes, I'm seeing that.
If you want me, I'll go as high. Yeah, you have to have some room for space for other shows to be 8s and 9s and 10s.
For sure.
So I mean.
Oh yeah, no, stick with it. Don't change it.
I mean, I'll go. All right, I'll do 7. I'll do 6.75.
We love the 0.75 ratings. Yeah. Okay, excellent. No pressure though. It's just to each their own. What about you, Mike?
I was gonna say it's very Schemer-like that Brian's now dealing in such nickel-like percentages here. So that's very telling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna stick with. I'm gonna say 6.5 for this one as well. I like it.
Cool.
It's definitely a lot more humorous than the last one, and I like that Schemer is a bit more center stage in comparison. Gosh, I mean, I'm assuming with the work that Fred did, our lovely editor Fred, no one will notice that we had some technical difficulties there. But we didn't even talk about the Thomas stories in this one. So real quick, we had Cows and Old Iron, which are both fantastic little Edward-centric stories. I really like those. They bring it up for me for sure. Clever little detail I noticed as well is that in dealing with that. The telegraph machine, when Mr. Conductor introduces the first story, he blows his whistle in Morse code, which is quite a nice little detail. So well done to the writers there for that one.
Very fancy.
I mean, I did find the anything tunnel bit a little... It doesn't really fit the flow to me. It kind of feels like it just kind of stops everything in its tracks. And, I've always felt like the anything tunnel segments where it could be... random live action or puppets or, the public domain Disney stuff from ages ago. It could always be a mixed bag, and I feel like that is exemplified in this one for sure. It doesn't really feel like it. I guess it fits the practical joke vibe of the episode, but the overall thing just feels like it goes on a little bit too long for me. But that being said, I mean, it's worth it all to sit through and just watch Schemer, play his jokes and make a fool of himself in the end there. So, yeah, I like it for those reasons, but not my favorite of the first season.
One thing just on your point about nickels, we get an age for Tito, the puppet, interestingly, in this episode. Oh, not an age, but a sense of how old he is. He says he apparently started collecting nickels in 1957.
Oh,
so
wow.
Like, wow, that's he said his band leader said take 5. I never stopped. I always like that line. It's very clever. I'm giving this episode a bit of a higher rating. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I would say I like the second half better, but I just remember it fondly. I think I enjoyed watching it as a kid. It's quirky. It's kind of weird. I don't mind its weirdness. I like the Thomas stories in it. The music's fun. I enjoy it. So, yeah, that's an 8 for me.
Hi, I'm Ken Bianco Jr. from Train World, where we have the greatest selection of model trains and train sets. We also are proud to carry Bachmann's full line of Thomas & Friends products. With a large variety of different brands and scales, we have the best items for your model train collection. You can find Train World on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, where you can see our latest products and even be invited to all our events like Thomas Tuesdays. Visit trainworld.com today to find your next addition to your model railroad journey.
Well, I wish I could have seen this show as a kid. Man, that's so great that you guys... And you actually remember how you felt about it when you saw it? Wow. It was incredible.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, when we get you back on for seasons 2 and 3, Brian, then, that's when the nostalgia will really come out for me, because this first season is all an adult perspective for me, but
right.
when the childhood feelings come out, then, that'll be a blast for sure.
Right. Yeah. And whatever ratings we give this thing, or the first season or whatever, the fact of the matter is, the show was popular right off the bat. It's like I don't know what the numbers were, if Rick has those numbers, but the first season was really popular.
Oh, yeah.
It did really well.
It did really well. So whatever was going on with it was connecting with the audience. And, as they say, that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
But whatever... Yeah, it connected with the audience, and they've got great reviews, and it had a big following right off the bat. Which, again, when I told that story before about Schemer with Santa Claus, it surprised me. I had no idea. It really connected with people. Hats off to the writers and to Rick and Britt.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
That's the thing, Brian. Is we think about the show itself ended in. I guess you had those specials there, so we'll call it 95. But you did the Schemer shows for how long after that? Like, you were doing the live performances for a while after the show ended.
A long time, yeah.
I think almost until the millennium.
Yeah, yep.
So that itself is just a testament to, the popularity and how much it resonated with people.
Right.
For sure.
I was doing this as long as the show was on the air. I was doing it. When the show when did Shining Time go off the air?
Around 2000, I think.
Yeah, that's when I stopped doing
it. I think around then, as far as I remember. I mean, they did do some repeats. I think. Oh no, I think it was around then though. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but
there were some sporadic repeats, because I know there was a TV station that we have in Canada here. It was like I think it was the
Aboriginal People's Television Network.
Yeah. They played it for a long time afterwards, obviously because of Billy Two Feathers being involved in that too. But they played it well into the 2000s. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. When did the movie come out?
2000.
Yeah, that was 2000. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was definitely still doing personal appearances then, I think.
Oh, okay, wow. Interesting.
That speaks volumes about how much, I mean, obviously the show itself, but even just the character of Schemer, how much that stuck with people.
Yeah, we're still doing it then.
On that note, any final thoughts?
Well, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be asked to do this, and I'd love to come back for season 2 and season 3.
Yeah, we're still there. It was great having you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. But have me back, and then maybe we'll do will you do one on Schemer Presents?
I would love to. I think we should absolutely
we can do a special if you like.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not?
I could talk about that forever.
I'm sure. I would love to chat with you about that, Brian. That's a very special thing for sure.
Yeah, I look forward to it. It was a lot of fun doing it, and I hadn't seen those episode 1s in a really, really long time. So it was fun watching those two, and again, freaked me out not having that curl. Like, that was like, oh my god! In my head, if anybody asked me about it, they're like, no, that curl, wherever Schemer went, whatever I did, whatever I was wearing, if I had to swim underwater, whatever, that curl stays with me. And all of a sudden, they're in without the curl. Like, what? Huh? Yeah.
Some kind of freaky parallel universe.
Right.
But yes, thank you, Brian, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in, and thank you again to our team behind the scenes, our lovely editor Fred, and Tom for putting this all together. And I have been Adrian.
I have been Mike.
I've been Schemer.
And we will see you next time on Time to Shine. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.